Jerry, I'd like to ask you just a couple of questions leading up to the world premiere of the Lieberson Songs of Love and Sorrow coming up in just a couple of weeks here with the Boston Symphony. I've just been sort of curious about some of your other activity with commission works, and have noted that you've done quite a lot of stuff. I mean, just to mention a few composers you've collaborated with. You've worked with Mark Anthony Turridge, Kaya Sariaho, Tobias Picker, John Adams. Is this something that you seek out, or are these types of collaborations just have they just presented themselves to you?
Well, it's been a combination of the two, really. I think certainly the opera projects that I've been involved in have generally been bigger projects before I'd become involved. But once I have become involved, I've had a wonderful opportunity to collaborate directly with the composers about, what might be suitable for me particularly, and in generally, and everybody has been always very excited and cooperative, and we've had a great time putting all our strengths together.
I'd be curious to talk to you a little bit about your contact with Mr. Lieberson leading up to these performances that are coming up here in Boston. I know that you and he have been in touch back and forth. Can you talk a little bit about what this process has been like, sort of from the beginning of the project through, receiving, I suppose you received a piano vocal score early on that you've been working from, and then subsequently have had probably some contact with him too.
That's right. Well, we've, ever since these songs were projected by the Boston Symphony, we've managed to at least keep the possibility of communicating at whatever stage open, and that's a wonderful thing for an artist to have from a composer, because of course it will mean that that the artist's talents or abilities are going to be more or less reflected in the music that the composer is going to offer. Now, Peter and I have known each other for the better part of almost 10 years now, on a social level to begin with, but and there were projects in the last 10 years which we have attempted to collaborate on, but for various reasons hadn't come to fruition. But this has been a lovely chance to work directly with him. My first sight of the vocal score was in late 2009, and he knew that Neruda was going to be the source of poetry for these songs, since it was very much Lorraine Hunt's passion for that poetry, I think, which is also reflected in their obviously tremendous love for each other. So that was always a natural source of inspiration, and I was delighted that we were going to be working that way. And then, so the score arrived, and have a good look, and have a cursory look to make sure there are no notes which I can't sing, and that's Peter's obviously exceptional at knowing and doing good work ahead of time, so there was no problems about that at all. It actually has to do more with making sure that I understand what he wants. Of course, that's what every singer is hoping to get from a score, is the best clues possible about what the composer wants. It's a little bit more difficult with Mozart and Beethoven, and we're subject to interpretations over the years. But of course, working directly with a composer is wonderful, because there can be a dialogue, and that's been a lovely thing. Peter has been available at every moment since I received the music to talk about word inflections and stresses of particular words in Spanish. I was able to ask him about what style of Spanish he wanted the songs to be sung in. Neruda, of course, being Chilean, has a South American flavor to the Spanish, and so my initial contact with a Spanish speaker in Europe was actually not in the end was directly helpful. So I needed to confirm, of course, it was Chilean Spanish. And then the songs themselves, tempo markings, precise note values and things like that, just so that I can, when I'm learning them, of course, getting the notes in the voice and making sure that the actual tunefulness of it is very singable, which these songs are completely beautiful. And in the end, it's an exercise of making sure that if I'm interpreting something, that I will go to him and say, well, I'm thinking of doing this. So once I've learned them and I've worked through them with a pianist, we supplied him with a complete piano vocal version of that, and I was able to send that to him by virtual electronic means, which is very useful in our busy traveling lives. And he was able to listen and comment and make suggestions, and also it was lovely to offer a complete version of the songs well before we get together with the orchestra, so that he himself can then adjust orchestration or speed markings, things like that. So it's been a lovely to and fro. We've spoken on the phone a number of times, and we're looking forward to doing it live.
I've noticed that that's leading up to these performances, you're actually involved in some recital projects, and the way that you think about text and the way that you look at poetry as a recitalist, surely that must inform also your process as a singing artist. And is this something that you thought of consciously, doing these recital programs leading up to doing these songs with orchestra, or is it just a sort of fortuitous coincidence that you happen to be scheduled in this way, that your mind is sort of thinking along these lines? Yes,
well, what I like to think is that other than opera, everything that I do is song-based. The recital part of my life has been absolutely fundamental. I usually try to devote about a third of my active performing to song recitals. It allows me very much a chance to keep in touch with poetry and the very incredibly rich repertoire of song that there is. And also, really from a fundamental point of view, a singer's job is to be a lyrical artist. Words are our inspiration. Song is a great challenge for composers because it's very simple. It is about melody, and it is about responding to poetry directly, and often within quite a brief period of time. In terms of the length of song. So you never really got anything more than 5 or 6 minutes of music, and in that time, of course, a song is very can cover a large emotional span or a very sharp, short span. And from a dramatic point of view, that's very useful for me as an artist because I need to stretch myself always in these ways. The Neruda songs, the Neruda sonnets that Peter has set are incredibly vivid. They are the texts are vibrant with imagery. They're very sensual. They have very clear and full meaning in every word that's used. They are in sonnet form and therefore quite compact in structure. But Peter's music informs them and provides a sensitive and yet passionate and lush surrounding to them, so that I think both the words and the music serve each other beautifully. And from a recital point of view, I hope maybe that these could be done with piano at some point. Although the orchestral version is certainly going to be the wonderful fundamental of the presentation. So I'm enjoying the fact that I'm singing recitals at the moment and have these songs as the Neruda songs as a culmination.